because yesterday morning, obviously, the Terps take down the Michigan State Spartans. They got off to a slow start, but they end up winning. So today they play Michigan, number 4 rated Michigan, ranked Michigan, at 11:30. So I'm looking forward to that. Last night there were sports all over the place. I mean, you every time you flip the channel, there was something else going on. And I told you about the Knicks yesterday because Derrick Rose was not playing. And that's why I asked you to check on FanDuel what the spread was, because I didn't feel good about that game at all. And the same thing could be said about how I felt about Brooklyn coming out against the Nets and playing at home. But all I can tell you is that my hockey team is the best of the worst. That's the way I look at it. We can beat the bad teams. We play a good team. We get knocked around. We get pushed around. We get nothing from our bottom six. Our goalie all of a sudden cannot stop a puck. He's pulled for the second straight game. We give up yet another shorthanded goal. And it goes to show you when you have guys like Sidney Crosby and Andrew Marchand. Well, how about that? Not Andrew Marchand, but Marchand from the Bruins.
Brad Marchand.
Brad Marchand.
Yeah.
It goes to show you. Now, these guys were young players at one point in time, too, and they weren't playing like they are playing now. But the way that they're playing now is they just basically beat the crap out of the Rangers, push them around, get to the pucks. Their lines make a difference. Like their first line, when they come over the boards and they come on the ice, you're like, holy crap, here they come. Buckle up because it's going to get physical. It's going to get nasty. Our lines just don't do that. I mean, our team doesn't do that. We don't look like that. And it goes to show you how far the Rangers truly are away from really competing for a championship. You know, obviously their number one goalie's hurt. Gorgiev has basically lost his game. His confidence is shot. There are a lot of young players that just are making stupid plays, slow plays, but eventually they'll all figure it out. That's the thing about a rebuild. But we're 3 years into it now, and sooner or later you want to start seeing, some results. And, when your best player takes a leave of absence for 17 days, one of your high-point defensemen goes nuts at the beginning of the season, you have to basically get rid of them. You have a lot of issues that are going on around the Rangers right now, but it just goes to show you that they are a long, long way from competing against top-end teams.
Yeah, and Matt Martin gets another goal last night. I should have mentioned that. So he is providing the offense to this city in the game of hockey that Artemi Panarin has left behind with his leave of absence.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
That's what he's replacing in this city. No, he certainly is. We were looking for an offensive star in New York hockey.
Right.
With the absence of Panarin, and Matt Martin has certainly been that guy. But
I would say that Matt Martin has definitely become the most famous hockey player in New York because we talk about him more than anybody else.
Of course. Well, why not? Why wouldn't you?
Yes, but I told you a couple things are going on here. Number one, his offensive game has been found since he's become a dad. And number two, I definitely feel like I've had a direct effect on him, telling him to shoot the puck more. And
he's listening.
Working with him in the backyard in the sport court, working on that snapshot and working on the skating and getting him an idea of, look, you can't score goals if you do not shoot the puck. I would say the same thing to Capo Caco.
This was a goal scorer's goal, by the way.
I would say the same thing to Alexis Lafreniere. I mean, but eventually they'll figure it out.
Sure. Well, you mentioned how far away the Rangers are. I don't know how far away the Knicks are from being a playoff team this year. Now, far away from a championship, it's eons. We understand that. That's a different conversation. But how far away are they from a playoff berth? Now, after the first half, they're right there. They are right there. Now, after this game, I think the reason why the magnifying glass was on them so much last night was, can they continue this? It's against a good team that they beat the last time they saw. Is this Knicks team really for real, or is it a mirage? And the first impression in the second half was horrible.
Well, Julius Randle played his worst game.
Now, apparently, he's got a history of the first game after the All-Star break being awful. Now, last year, who really remembers that? But he was bad that year. That game last year, and he also said it at the end of this game. He's like, for whatever reason, I just don't have it. The first game after the All-Star break,
he looked like he didn't belong. I thought there was a point in time where Tom Thibodeau was going to say, "Okay, come on, Julius, come over here and sit down."
Right, just take the rest of the night off.
From turnovers to missed shots to bad passes. He had a little bit of bad in every aspect of his game last night, which is unfortunate because he's had a great season, and he was rewarded with an All-Star nod, but. Last night was by far his worst game.
Well, they got to beat Oklahoma City. They got to get back on track. They have to show us that they could still do that. Mike Vaccaro's column this morning in the Post is something interesting that, we've said with other teams before that have sort of surprise years, is that in the first half, it's like, oh, we got the Knicks on the schedule. We always beat the Knicks. We always beat them by double digits. Who cares? That's not the case anymore. People see the Knicks are like, oh, this team has been over 500. This team does have an all-star. This team is well coached. And all of a sudden, the focus is there for them. They have been in the playoff picture for most of the year. So it's not going to be like, oh, we're walking over the Knicks tonight. You refocus now if you're one of their opponents. So, I don't know. I'm worried, man. I don't want to be negative about it. I'm definitely concerned about who they are for real and what they're going to be in this second half. And I just really, really hope that there's not like some sort of just complete bottom falling out with this group in the second half. It'd be so unbelievably disappointing if that were the case.
Well, I also asked you yesterday about, the status of Derrick Rose.
Yeah, but he's not like he's been here the entire year.
I know that,
but
he's been an important part of what's going on. And look, Elfrid Payton can't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And again, how many times we talk about it? Because of the way that the NBA and what it's turned into, a three-point shoot fest.
Yeah.
The Knicks only have a couple guys that are reasonably good shooters from that distance. When you have Kyrie Irving doing what he did last night and James Harden could throw up a three at any moment, at any time, and make it, it's really...
Or Landry Shamet hitting 6 last night.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that it really, for the NBA, you got to have those shooters. The game has trended so much towards the three-point shot, and the Knicks don't have great three-point shooters. So that's basically the issue. And then if you are missing a stabilizing force, which is, believe it or not, what Derrick Rose has become... and he actually also does give you a big lift on offense. It's not surprising that they were flat last night. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying this is a trend. I don't want to get negative. I want to give these guys and the next 6 or 7 games to really find out who they are. Just like I was saying this week, we would find out who the New York Ranger hockey team is because they were going to play 4 games against Pittsburgh and Boston, nemesis. Great players on the other team, and a young team with a shaky goalie, and it's basically worked out to be the worst-case scenario. And I hope that's not the case for the Knicks.
Yeah, and as far as Kyrie Irving and the Nets last night, as they end up beating the Celtics, Kevin Durant missing his 10th straight game with no real timetable, will be checked out again next week. So this is the other side of Kyrie Irving to the extreme. So we saw both versions of Kyrie this year to the extreme. One, he's not around the team, doesn't provide an explanation. He's gone for a couple of weeks. Last night, 40 points, spectacular, one of the most skilled offensive players you've ever seen, going off and bringing his team to victory against one of his old teams that, of course, he left on not good terms. So, this was just classic, great Kyrie Irving last night. And this is what you're going to get with him, and you just hope that this is the version, if you're a Nets fan, that you see during the postseason, the guy that completely carries the team. Now, it is amazing because this winning streak that has gone on, the way that they have played, it's mostly been without the guy that we have talked about the most with the Nets in Kevin Durant. And they continue to impress. And it's mostly been James Harden. It was James Harden's team for the last couple of weeks. Last night it was Kyrie Irving's team, and when all three of them are together, it's like just pick your poison. There was also a lot of bench contributors last night as well. I mentioned Landry Shamet with the 6 3-pointers. They have developed that second tier off the bench that we were worried about, that they had lost with Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert, and Spencer Dinwiddie being out. So, they're just as dangerous as humanly possible right now. There's no two ways about it.
It will be extremely interesting to see how Blake Griffin fits into all this. That's the other thing that they got going on. So, hey, look, man, they are headed right for the conference championship game. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. They are just, and even with these 2 guards and how they make everybody better. And, when they need a shot, one of those 2 take it, and they make it. It's pretty simple, and because of the 3-point shot, and because of the prevalence of it and how it has grown in this game, they have some of the best shooters in basketball. So that's basically what's going to end up winning them a championship, and pretty much that's what the NBA has turned into.
Yeah, and so you think about the Eastern Conference. Can the Milwaukee Bucks, when we saw them last night again up close with the Knicks, can they beat the Nets in the conference finals?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No way.
the Boston.
Not enough. Kevin Durant is 100% healthy.
Yeah.
And Blake Griffin's healthy. And they're still getting their contributions from their other guys every other night, because it's like Landry Shamet one night, right? It's Claxton the next night. It's, it's Joe Harris the next night. I mean, It's just unbelievable. There's somebody in that group or two of those three guys are giving you somewhere between 14 and 17 points while the other guys are going off.
Could the Philadelphia 76ers beat them in the conference finals?
Not as they are currently constituted, no.
Yeah. I mean,
no, not even close.
They got the MVP on that team.
They may. That's fine. But, you got three potential MVPs on the Nets, even though Kevin Durant will not be considered an MVP. But if he comes back and he plays the way that he was playing before he got injured, who's going to stop this team?
So I would have originally said before the Anthony Davis injury that the Lakers would have stopped them in the finals. You can't say that now because you don't know when Anthony Davis is coming back, and you don't know what he's going to look like when he comes back. And then on top of that, you got Montrezl Harrell putting up on social media all sorts of crazy stuff, who's had a great season for them up until this point. He was a good addition along with Beverly. And you're like, what does this even mean? Like something about like it's all on its way to being over or something. I don't know. It was like a Domingo Herman type of Instagram post, something nuts. And I'm like, well, this team's breaking down now. So everything is Kevin Durant comes back healthy, and they just keep clicking like this, which you would expect them to. Everything is lining up for them. Everything's lining up for them.
What is today's date? Today is the 12th. I will say on the 12th because I think I said it on the 1st. This team is not losing a championship. This team is going all the way.
So you're guaranteeing a Brooklyn Net championship right now?
As long as two of the three of those guys stay healthy, without question.
So you're telling me that Kevin Durant could not come back
and they'd still win a championship
for the rest of the year, and they're still winning a title?
Have you watched the way they play basketball?
Oh, of course. Of course. I understand, but you're also talking about James Harden, who was not a postseason performer.
If this were the Knicks, I'd be out of my seat. I'd be waving the flag. I'd be screaming.
Oh, of course. I know.
It's not the Knicks. I'm just telling you, watching what I see and how they play and how many good shooters they have on their team. I mean, come on.
I think they need Durant. If you're going to talk about guaranteeing a championship, you got to have Durant back.
But I still think you only need two or the three of them. If you have all three of them, it's a slam dunk. They may lose a game here or there. That's about it.
If you could take two out of the three, would you take Harden and Durant?
Yes.
You would?
You know why? Just simply because I think they're more stable.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. I just, it's great that Kyrie did this to his ex-teammates and, he hates Boston and all that other stuff. I just don't know what totally to expect from Kyrie on a given day.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's all.
Right. There's a couple of X factors here with those three guys. One, Durant health. Two, Kyrie's health is always in question. You never know. With shoulder, knee, something like that. His ability to just disappear. Those are all things that could happen. And James Harden being a bad postseason player are all things that could happen. But they've never been with other players like this.
That's what I'm saying.
And they've all played with great players.
But not like this.
Kevin Durant had Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, and that was about as good as it got. You could make the case that Kyrie Irving and James Harden are even better offensive players than those guys were.
Analytics drives me crazy, but the offensive efficiency numbers for the Brooklyn Nets have got to be off the charts. They have to be off the charts.
Right.
They really do. And the only way they are derailed if two of three of those guys get injured significantly. It's the only way they're derailed. The only way. Because that's all they need. Because they'll play off of each other. And again, maybe the shortcomings for Harden, which he's admitted to in the playoffs, is because he didn't have somebody like a Kevin Durant. He didn't have somebody like a Kyrie Irving. Watching them, it's almost too easy.
Yeah.
It's too easy in the regular season, and all this is minutia until we get to the playoffs, because that's what it will be all about for them.
Yeah.
So and to me, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but for the Knicks, they got to get Derrick Rose back. And, Julius Randle obviously had an off night, and it spoke volumes last night. It's one of the reasons why they got smoked. That's why I was asking yesterday about the FanDuel Sports.
Yeah, you were all over it.
I just felt like, man,
I had too much confidence in him. You were all over it. Let me ask you, is this a TV faux pas or not? Because I caught this last night. And you're even though we're on TV every day, I'm talking about like a broadcast of a game faux pas or not. So I happened to catch on TNT when they shot did the B-roll, they call it, of Barclays Center, that it was old B-roll. So it was at night. Okay, you had that, but there were a million cars on the road, and the thing that gave it away was Jared Allen's face was on the outside of the Barclays Center. Now, that to me is not a mistake all these weeks later, month, whatever it is from the James Harden deal, that the Barclays Center would have made that mistake. That's definitely stock footage from TNT that they put up there, as opposed to whatever the Barclays Center looked like last night, or they didn't want to get any more. Is that a faux pas? Are they lying to us with the B-roll footage, or what?
So I'm probably the wrong guy to ask this question to, and the reason for that is because, we're on CBS Sports Network. Now, I think most of the B-roll that we run is up-to-date B-roll. I feel like it's real, it's in the day, it's in the moment, but I'm sure that we have run some B-roll that doesn't match the day that we're talking.
Okay.
But it would be smart if somebody at TNT recognized that Jared Allen's face was outside the Brooklyn, the Barclays Center, and then therefore not run that. And the other real faux pas, though, and I don't know how this happened, and I don't know why it happened, and it's really distressing to me that it did happen.
Okay.
And that is what's going on with Patrick Ewing over at MSG. And I don't know what.
I'm sure Jerry's going to have that audio.
Yes.
If people missed it. And there is only one opinion you can have on that. Only one.
What the F?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure Jerry's going to play that for us.
It has to be some overzealous or group of overzealous security guards under the bowels of the garden.
And that never happens there, so it's sort of shocking that it did. All right,
I know people are going to compare this to the Charles Oakley thing that has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's just he was legit mad yesterday, as he should be.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.